Vox has a great article out today about the massive clusterfuck that is the United States healthcare system. They highlighted some mind-blowing facts on just how dysfunctional it is. I want to share some of them with you. They say, quote, America spends $2.8 trillion on healthcare annually, way more than any other country. Yeah, look at that chart. We absolutely crush everybody in wasting our money on healthcare, and we don't get the best results. We get the 37th best result if you go by the World Health Organization study that was released in about, I think it's the year 2000. And then if you believe the studies that came a little later, right before we implemented Obamacare, I think we shot up to 46th. So we got worse. We spend all that money and we get dick for it. Also, if the U.S. healthcare system broke off from the U.S., get this, it would be the 5th largest economy in the world. The U.S. healthcare system alone would be the 5th largest economy in the world if it was sovereign. That shows you how much money is floating around in this gigantic balloon of corruption and price gouging. Quote, of every $6 spent in America, $1 goes to healthcare. Again, that puts in perspective how ridiculous the system has gotten. Quote, Americans pay a lot more for drugs than anybody else. So take a look at this chart here. This is for Nexium. We could do this with virtually any drug. There's so many examples of this, but we pay $215. Switzerland pays $60 for the exact same drug. Exact same drug. We pay $215. Switzerland pays $60. Spain $58. England $42. The Netherlands $23. Are you kidding me? We can't even knock that down to $100. Of course we could if we had the political will, if we had politicians who actually represented us, if we had a system that made any sense whatsoever, but we don't. Quote, 1/3 of U.S. healthcare spending is spent on things that don't make people healthier. In total, you want to know how much waste that is? $765 billion in waste. Now, what does that include? Well, that includes unnecessary services, excessive administrative costs, price gouging, and fraud, among other things. Now, when it comes to paperwork, quote, the U.S. spends 3 times as much on hospital administrative costs than all professional sports combined. And of course, needless to say, this is way more than any other nation. I mean, how frustrating is it that just a simple thing like that, which we know we can fix if we simplify the system, that's a major problem. That we're swimming in paperwork in the U.S. healthcare system because there's so many different levels of this insane private sector, big business bureaucracy that we're dealing with, whether it's the healthcare companies or the health insurance companies. Everybody's got to make a profit. Everybody's got to have a form. You don't have to deal with that nearly as much if you're in the other modern nations, Australia, Canada, England, Sweden, Norway, France, Denmark, you name it. What else we got here for you? Finally, even after Obamacare is implemented, 31 million Americans will be uninsured, or about 11% of the country. 31 million are going to be uninsured. And we're cheering it. Now, to be fair, yeah, it used to be about 46 million people uninsured. So great, we knocked a bunch of millions off of that. But 31 million people still uninsured even when Obamacare is fully implemented. That, ladies and gentlemen, shows you how pathetic our political system is. Because it was like pulling teeth to get the Republicans to pass their own plan. Richard Nixon came up with it. Bob Dole reproposed it in the 1990s. The Heritage Foundation, which is a right-wing think tank, codified it, wrote policy papers about it in the 1990s. Chuck Grassley, Newt Gingrich, House Republicans across the board supported the idea of an individual mandate okay, and expanding the base for Medicaid. This is their idea. This is their proposal. But when Obama proposes it, now all of a sudden they're against it. Now we barely get this through. When all this is nothing but a baby step in the right direction, when we have a marathon still to run in front of us. I mean, this is like putting a Band-Aid on a gaping, gangrenous wound. Okay, you have a Band-Aid with a little bit of ointment, but we still might have to amputate your ankle. This is the United States healthcare system. So what's the answer? Well, we know what the answer is. We just don't have the political will to implement the answer because the insurance lobby is so big, the healthcare lobby is so big, the pharmaceutical lobby is so big. But the answer is Medicare for all. The answer is copying every other modern industrial nation and finally joining the civilized world for what we know is the right answer. How about instead of all of our tax dollars going to kill people in Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria, and instead of all of our tax dollars going to subsidies and welfare checks for ExxonMobil and Wall Street, how about we pay for people's health care and education? I'm pretty sure if we did a poll, the American people say, okay, sign me up for that. I like that idea. Actually getting shit for my tax dollars, that would be wonderful. Let's do that. So that's the answer. But we're not going down that road. And when you really see the extent of the damage in the facts I just laid out for you, it really makes you want to bang your head against the wall.